In a California KFC establishment, Tom Cruise was savoring a rare moment of tranquility when approached by a 7-year-old child carrying a damaged toy vehicle. The youngster whispered something in his ear that caused Tom to immediately pale and contact emergency services. The following events would touch the hearts of many. Before continuing with this narrative, we would appreciate knowing your location. Should you find such accounts appealing, please subscribe to our channel, as we have prepared another exceptional story for tomorrow. It was an exceptionally clear afternoon in California, with a flawless azure sky overhead. Tom Cruise, renowned for both his unpretentious nature and charismatic presence, was driving toward a charitable function supporting children from disadvantaged backgrounds. He had dedicated several hours participating in various activities, contributing his time and energy to a cause he profoundly believed in. Following the event, feeling fatigued yet maintaining a serene smile, Tom made an unusual decision. Rather than proceeding directly home or selecting an upscale dining establishment, he pulled into a KFC located along a bustling thoroughfare. Why not? He contemplated. He missed these uncomplicated moments where he could unwind away from the persistent media spotlight. Within the restaurant, the ambience was welcoming despite the typical commotion. Families occupied various tables, children's laughter emanated from the small play area, and the sound of orders being announced resonated throughout the space. The characteristic aroma of fried food permeated the air, evoking nostalgic sensations. Tom entered discreetly, attired in a simple black t-shirt and sunglasses, a combination that emphasized his casual demeanor. After ordering a modest meal at the counter, he found seating in a secluded corner of the establishment. With his mobile device powered off, he allowed himself to observe his surroundings. For him, this represented a scarce moment of disconnection from his hectic lifestyle. While consuming his meal, something captured his attention. A child seated at a nearby table couldn't refrain from observing him. It was a boy with disheveled blonde hair wearing a slightly faded blue shirt. In his hands, he clutched a broken toy car against his chest, as if it were his most valued possession. The youngster appeared hesitant, his eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Tom offered a subtle smile, finding the scene endearing, but promptly returned to his meal. Nevertheless, he noticed the boy's continued observation, as if gathering courage to take action. At the same table beside the boy sat a man. He was tall, impeccably dressed in a pristine suit, and maintained rigid posture. The individual, apparently engrossed in a telephone conversation, exhibited a severe and cold expression. With each movement the boy made, he cast disapproving glances, as if the simple act of breathing irregularly constituted an inconvenience. Tom couldn't help but notice the palpable tension at their table. The contrast between the boy and the man was striking. While the youngster appeared diminutive and vulnerable, the man exuded authority and control. With each passing minute, the boy's restlessness intensified until he finally performed the unexpected. With timid steps, the boy descended from his chair, holding the broken car against his chest. His gaze remained fixed on Tom as he slowly approached. The restaurant seemed to grow quieter, as if the surrounding world had decelerated. Tom noticed the boy's approach and placed his burger on the table, turning completely toward him. When the youngster halted beside his chair, his eyes contained something Tom couldn't immediately identify, a combination of fear, determination, and hope. The boy leaned forward, his small frame trembling slightly. He opened his mouth and began to speak, but his voice was so faint that Tom had to lean closer to hear. What the boy whispered left the actor surprised, but before Tom could react, the moment was interrupted. The man at the table abruptly turned, noticing the boy's absence. His eyes locked onto Tom, and something in his gaze sent a chill down the actor's spine. The man rose slowly, adjusting his jacket while approaching them. Tom maintained his composed demeanor, but something in his expression shifted. He realized this seemingly random encounter would ultimately transform his life in ways he couldn't yet anticipate. Tom understood he was confronting something far more significant than initially imagined. The restaurant was increasingly crowded now, filled with voices and laughter echoing as families enjoyed their meals. Yet for Tom, all this seemed distant. He concentrated on the boy standing before him, attempting to comprehend the reason for his approach. The child appeared small and vulnerable, yet something in his expression, a sense of urgency, couldn't be ignored by Tom. The boy tightly clutched a broken toy car to his chest, as if it were his sole comfort source. He briefly glanced over his shoulder toward the table he had departed from. Seated there was the man Tom now identified as Mr. Gabriel, intently watching them, still holding his phone. His gaze was cold and intimidating, causing the boy to quickly look away, as though fearful of potential consequences. Tom crouched to the boy's level, speaking in the calmest voice possible, "It's okay. You can tell me what's happening." The boy hesitated. His free hand grasped the hem of his faded blue shirt as his eyes darted around, ensuring no one else was listening. Finally, in a voice nearly inaudible, he replied, "I can't talk here, he'll get angry." Tom inhaled deeply. He could perceive the boy's fear, but whatever was occurring must be serious for him to seek assistance from a stranger. Tom nodded reassuringly, "It's all right, you're safe now." Before Tom could continue, Gabriel rose from his seat. He adjusted his suit jacket with deliberate movements and began walking toward them. His steps were measured, and though his expression remained controlled, it betrayed a hint of irritation. Tom stood slowly, positioning himself between the boy and Gabriel as the man approached. Gabriel halted a few steps away, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I apologize for this. Nate can be excessively curious at times. I hope he hasn't been disturbing you," Gabriel stated. Tom remained composed, his gaze fixed on Gabriel. Years of experience interpreting people had taught him to trust his instincts, and something about this man triggered warning signals. Without breaking eye contact, Tom responded with a relaxed smile. "Actually, he was just showing me his toy car. It appears broken, he must truly cherish it." Gabriel narrowed his eyes momentarily before forcing another polite response. "Yes, he's quite attached to it." He then extended his hand toward the boy. "Come, Nate, it's time for us to leave." But Nate retreated slightly, partially concealing himself behind Tom. He remained silent, but the gesture sufficiently diminished Gabriel's patience. His smile briefly faltered as he emitted an irritated sigh. "I appreciate you keeping him entertained, but we have commitments elsewhere." "Excuse us," Gabriel remarked, moving to grasp Nate. Before he could reach the boy, Tom gently placed a hand on Gabriel's shoulder, halting him. "Commitments can wait. I believe Nate needs a moment. He seemed eager to discuss his car with me. Perhaps we can address that first." The waitress, who had been observing the escalating tension, approached carrying a tray. "Is everything satisfactory here?" she inquired, casting a suspicious glance at Gabriel. Tom smiled at her. "Everything's fine. Actually, could you bring Nate a beverage? He appears as though he could use something." The waitress nodded but directed another wary look at Gabriel before departing. Upon her departure, Tom discreetly retrieved his phone and began composing a message to an emergency contact. He recognized the necessity for prompt action. Gabriel noticed the movement and advanced closer. "I don't understand what you believe you're doing, but this has progressed far enough," he stated, his tone increasingly firm. He attempted to maintain control, but his eyes revealed growing impatience. Tom smiled again, though his expression had become more serious. "I'm simply trying to assist a boy who appears to need someone to listen. I'm certain you can comprehend that." Nate, still clutching his broken car, finally spoke, his voice trembling, "I don't want to leave, please, may I stay here?" The boy's simple plea momentarily immobilized Gabriel. He regarded Tom, his expression hardening before saying, "I suggest you don't interfere where unwelcomed." Tom preserved his composure, but he recognized he was dealing with something considerably more complex than initially thought. Nate was evidently frightened, and any misstep could endanger him. Tom needed to proceed cautiously, yet he also knew he couldn't abandon Nate. Tom pressed send on his phone, the request for assistance already transmitted. Gabriel stared directly at him, the two locked in silent confrontation. Tom knew time was diminishing. Something suggests this is far from concluded, Tom thought. The atmosphere in the restaurant felt heavier, despite the usual background noise of conversations and laughter. Tom, positioned between Nate and Gabriel, could feel the situation's gravity. The boy, small and vulnerable, held the broken toy car against his chest as if it were his shield against the world. His anxious eyes remained fixed on Tom. Tom crouched again, attempting to reassure him. His voice was gentle, almost a whisper, "You can explain what's happening. I'm here to listen." Nate nervously glanced around, verifying if Gabriel still observed them. The man, now reseated at the table, maintained a fixed, threatening gaze on them, phone in hand, as if anticipating something. Nate gripped the toy car more tightly and finally moved closer. The boy leaned slightly toward Tom and murmured, "He did something terrible to my mother. Can you help?" Tom momentarily froze. The boy's low, trembling voice conveyed something he immediately recognized, a plea for assistance. He knew this wasn't the time for unnecessary inquiries. The priority now was ensuring Nate's safety. Tom looked directly into the boy's eyes. "Everything will be fine. I'll help, I promise," he replied, his voice firm but reassuring. Nate nodded timidly, but the fear in his eyes persisted. He glanced back at Gabriel once more, as if dreading that he might already know what had just been disclosed. Gabriel noticed the exchange between Tom and Nate and stood abruptly. He adjusted his suit jacket, approaching them with slow, deliberate steps. His forced smile failed to conceal the growing irritation in his behavior. "Pardon the interruption, but Nate and I were just departing." "Thank you for entertaining him," Gabriel stated, extending a hand to take Nate. Before he could touch the boy, Tom stood and obstructed his path. Although his posture remained relaxed, something in Tom's expression caused Gabriel to hesitate. "He's still telling me about his toy car. I believe he wants additional time," Tom said, his voice calm yet resolute. Gabriel narrowed his eyes, clearly irritated by the interference. "That's very considerate, but he's accompanying me. We have an appointment." Tom remained steadfast. He maintained his position, looking directly at Gabriel. "Children need time to communicate. I'm certain you understand that, correct?" Momentarily, Gabriel appeared to lose patience, but quickly regained his controlled expression. "Of course, but we can't afford to waste time." He redirected his attention to Nate, now hiding behind Tom. "Let's go, Nate. It's time to leave." Before Gabriel could insist further, the waitress reappeared, holding her notepad. She discreetly placed a folded paper on Tom's table. Pretending it was a napkin, Tom retrieved it and quickly read, "The police are en route." Tom experienced a wave of relief, but recognized the danger remained substantial. He looked at Nate and offered a small, reassuring smile before turning back to Gabriel. "Why don't we all sit down briefly? It seems Nate simply needs time to breathe." "Sometimes, children just want their voices heard," Tom stated, maintaining a steady tone. Gabriel delivered a cold stare but reluctantly nodded. He returned to the table, though his eyes never left Tom and Nate. Muttering into his phone, he appeared increasingly agitated with each passing moment. Tom knew time was limited. He needed to protect Nate while also discovering more about the situation. Gabriel concluded his phone call and stood again, adjusting his suit jacket. He directed a stern look at Tom and Nate, his expression now darker and more threatening. "You have no conception of what you're involving yourselves in," Gabriel muttered, beginning to walk toward the exit. Tom knew the next decision would be crucial. The decisive moment was rapidly approaching. Gabriel proceeded toward the door with slow, calculated movements, each action carefully measured. Tom watched him intently, fully aware that any impulsive reaction could escalate the situation. Nate remained close to Tom, holding his toy car against his chest, his eyes fixed on the floor. The silence between them was interrupted only by the muffled sound of restaurant conversations. Gabriel paused near the entrance, pretending to adjust his suit jacket. However, Tom noticed something in his movements. They weren't casual. He appeared to be assessing his surroundings, potentially planning his next action. Gabriel reached into his jacket's inner pocket and retrieved a phone, quickly typing something before returning to the table. The waitress, who had remained vigilant, discreetly approached Tom and whispered, "The police are approaching. They're only minutes away." Tom subtly nodded, maintaining visual contact with Gabriel. The man was now seated again, but his demeanor had changed. He appeared tenser, frequently checking his phone. Tom recognized this as a clear indication. Gabriel was either concerned about the unfolding situation or attempting to regain control before police arrival. Gabriel exuded dominance over his environment. His gestures were deliberate and his words carefully selected. When he noticed Tom still observing him, he finally broke the silence. "You seem exceptionally interested in our conversation, Mr. Cruz." Tom maintained a neutral expression. "Nate appears frightened." "I'm simply trying to understand why." Gabriel emitted a dry, humorless laugh. "Children possess active imaginations. They fabricate stories and exaggerate. You, particularly, must understand that, correct? In your profession, you constantly encounter stories." He gestured toward Nate. "Perhaps that's the situation here." Tom crossed his arms, remaining calm. "Perhaps. But children are also more honest than adults. They express their feelings, even without always knowing how to articulate them." Gabriel leaned forward on the table, resting his elbows. "Then why not allow Nate to decide? Nate, do you want to leave now? Or would you prefer to stay and continue conversing with our friend?" Nate hesitated. He looked at Tom, then at Gabriel. His trembling hand tightened its grip on the toy car, as if drawing courage from it. Finally, he replied in a barely audible voice, "I want to remain here." Nate's statement momentarily caused Gabriel to clench his fists, but he quickly regained composure. His smile now appeared even more forced. "Very well, but I hope this doesn't continue much longer." As Gabriel maintained his controlled demeanor, the waitress returned with another note for Tom. She placed a glass on the table and slid the paper underneath. Tom discreetly retrieved it and read, "They're 2 minutes away, maintain composure." Tom knew he needed to continue buying time. He turned to Nate, redirecting the conversation to safer territory. "Nate, you mentioned your mother is injured. Do you know her current location?" Nate began answering but stopped abruptly when Gabriel struck the table with his hand, just forcefully enough to attract attention. "That's sufficient questioning, Cruz. This doesn't concern you." Tom slowly turned toward Gabriel. His voice remained calm, but contained unmistakable gravity. "If she's hurt, then it concerns everyone, particularly me." Gabriel leaned forward again, locking eyes with Tom. "I suggest you desist now. You're unaware who you're confronting." Tom recognized he was dealing with someone dangerous. He maintained Gabriel's gaze momentarily before slowly standing, signaling Nate to remain close beside him. "If you wish to discuss this, we can do so civilly, or you can wait here until police arrival." Tom's statement momentarily immobilized Gabriel. His expression hardened as he glanced around, realizing the situation was escaping his control. Outside, 2 police cruisers parked at the restaurant entrance. 2 officers exited their vehicles and entered the establishment with purposeful strides. Gabriel immediately noticed them and stood, adjusting his suit jacket while glancing at Tom. "You've committed a significant error," he muttered, stepping toward the exit. Tom, still standing protectively beside Nate, knew this was the moment for action. He needed to ensure Gabriel couldn't escape. The KFC's glass doors swung open as two uniformed officers entered with determined strides. Their eyes rapidly scanned the room, detecting the tension at the table where Tom, Nate, and Gabriel were seated. The waitress, visibly nervous, discreetly indicated their direction with a subtle nod. Tom remained composed, but felt Nate tightly grasping his arm, the boy's small body trembling. He quickly knelt and whispered, "Everything's fine now. They're here to assist." Gabriel, conversely, straightened his posture, adjusting his suit jacket with controlled movement. His bearing exhibited a combination of arrogance and disdain. He observed the officers, seemingly preparing for confrontation. The two officers, a tall man identified by his badge as Officer Stephen and a female officer named Sophia, approached the table with serious expressions. Stephen spoke first. "We received notification about a potential issue here. Is everything satisfactory?" Gabriel presented a rehearsed smile. "Everything's fine, officer. There must be some misunderstanding. I'm simply enjoying the day with my son." Before the officers could respond, Tom intervened. He rose slowly, keeping Nate close beside him. "Officers, I believe you should hear the boy's statement." Stephen directed his attention to Nate, who nervously looked downward. Sophia crouched to the boy's level and offered a gentle smile. "Hello there, I'm Sophia. Would you tell me your name?" Nate hesitated, glancing at Tom for reassurance. Tom nodded, giving his shoulder a light squeeze. Finally, Nate murmured, "Nate." "Nate," Sophia repeated softly. "Everything's fine. Can you explain what's happening? We're here to help." Nate's eyes moved from Sophia to Gabriel, whose calm expression transformed into irritation. "Say nothing, Nate." "We're leaving," Gabriel stated, his voice sharper. Stephen intervened, blocking Gabriel's path. "I recommend remaining where you are, sir. We won't depart until we understand the situation." The officer's presence appeared to give Nate additional courage. He finally raised his eyes and spoke, his voice soft but clear. "He injured my mother and said nobody could help us." The restaurant fell silent. Stephen and Sophia exchanged glances as Tom crouched beside Nate again. "You acted correctly by informing us," Tom said with an encouraging smile. Gabriel's patience evaporated. "This is absurd. He's merely a child fabricating stories." "My attorney will appreciate this," Gabriel stated, attempting to move past the officers. Stephen placed a firm hand on Gabriel's chest, halting his movement. "Let's clarify this first, sir. Remain where you are." Sophia turned back to Nate. "Nate, do you know your mother's current location? Is she at home?" Nate nodded, but his face displayed deep concern. "She can't stand. He said nobody would believe me." Tom gave Nate's shoulder another reassuring squeeze. "We believe you. Everything's fine now." Gabriel emitted a forced, dry laugh. "This is preposterous. You're truly listening to a child rather than a responsible adult? I won't tolerate this." Stephen remained calm. "Sir, it appears we have sufficient cause to investigate the situation. You'll need to accompany us." Gabriel retreated a step, his eyes now filled with anger. "You're unaware who you're confronting." He attempted to depart, but Sophia acted swiftly. With determined movement, she grabbed Gabriel's arm while Stephen stepped forward to assist, securing him in position. "Are you resisting a police directive?" Sophia inquired as she fastened handcuffs around his wrists. Tom observed, standing protectively beside Nate, who now appeared somewhat relieved but remained visibly shaken. "He's lying," Gabriel muttered as the officers escorted him from the restaurant. Tom turned to Nate and gently asked, "Would you like to show me your mother's location? We can go there now with the police." Nate slowly nodded, holding his broken toy car in one hand and Tom's hand in the other. He whispered, "I just wanted everything to be okay." Tom felt emotional pang in his chest but knew action was necessary. He turned to the officers, "Let's proceed to his house. There's still more to accomplish." The restaurant had calmed, but tension lingered atmospherically. Customers watched silently, some whispering among themselves as Gabriel was escorted out by police. Inside, Tom remained close to Nate, ensuring the boy felt secure. Nate still clutched his broken toy car, his small hands trembling with the force of his grip. Tom crouched beside him again. "Nate, we'll manage this situation. The police are present and will assist us. Would you tell me more about what happened with your mother?" Nate looked up at Tom, his eyes brimming with unshed tears. He hesitated momentarily before speaking quietly. He shouted at her. Then she fell on the floor. "She said she'd be fine, but I knew she wasn't." Tom felt a lump in his throat. The boy's words were simple but carried heartbreaking weight. He knew rapid action was necessary. Standing, Tom signaled to the officers who returned inside after securing Gabriel in a patrol car. "He's afraid to return home," Tom informed Officer Stephen. "And he's concerned about his mother. We need to arrive there immediately." Stephen nodded, retrieving a small notepad to record the address. Officer Sophia knelt beside Nate, addressing him directly with gentle tone. "Nate, can you direct us to your house? We'll ensure your mother is okay." Nate hesitated again, glancing at Tom for reassurance. When Tom nodded, Nate gave a small, timid nod. "I can show you, but he always locks the door. I don't know how to enter." Tom placed a comforting hand on Nate's shoulder. "Don't worry, we'll determine a solution." As the officers prepared to depart, Sophia received information from a restaurant employee that Gabriel had left a small backpack at his table, likely during his hasty exit. She brought the bag to the table where Tom and Nate were seated. Outside, Gabriel shouted from inside the patrol car, "You're making a mistake. You have no evidence. I'm innocent." Stephen ignored the outburst as Sophia assisted Tom and Nate into the police vehicle. During the journey, Tom attempted to keep Nate calm, sharing small stories for distraction. "Did you know toy cars are easily repaired? I'm certain once this concludes, we can determine how to fix yours." For the first time, Nate offered a faint smile, though his eyes remained distant. "Do you think my mother will be okay?" he asked. Tom looked at him and answered sincerely, "We'll do everything possible to ensure her well-being." As the vehicle approached Nate's residence, the atmosphere grew heavy with tension. The street was eerily quiet and the house windows were dark. Sophia noticed the front door was slightly ajar, prompting Stephen to immediately brake. "Remain here," he instructed Tom and Nate as he and Sophia exited the vehicle, drawing their weapons. Tom turned to Nate and softly said, "Stay with me. We won't allow anything to happen." Outside, the officers approached the house cautiously, the surrounding silence feeling more threatening than any noise. When Stephen pushed the door open, their discovery would change everything. Officers Stephen and Sophia arrived at Nate's house accompanied by Tom and the boy. The partially open front door revealed interior chaos, overturned furniture, struggle evidence, and broken objects scattered across the floor. Proceeding cautiously, Stephen and Sophia discovered Jessica, Nate's mother, unconscious on the living room floor with a small head laceration. Despite her critical condition, Jessica remained alive, and paramedics were immediately summoned. As paramedics stabilized Jessica, Sophia and Stephen examined the notebook found in Gabriel's backpack. They uncovered detailed notes revealing Gabriel had been monitoring Jessica and Nate, controlling their movements and planning to abduct the boy and transport him to another state. This discovery confirmed Gabriel's crime severity, including abuse and attempted kidnapping charges. Outside, Gabriel, now handcuffed in the police car's back seat, observed the activity with dark expression. He muttered threats while being driven away, but Tom remained focused on Nate and Jessica. The boy held Tom's hand and asked if he would remain with them. With warm smile, Tom promised to support Nate until everything resolved. The hospital was illuminated by soft dawn light, promising a fresh beginning. Jessica lay in a quiet room, connected to monitors and intravenous equipment. Though pale, her face displayed relief at finally achieving safety. Nate sat beside her, carefully holding her hand, while Tom stood nearby, ensuring both felt comfortable. After 10 hours, the doctor entered with positive news. "She's out of danger," he stated. "Her injuries weren't severe. With rest, she'll fully recover." Nate exhaled deeply and glanced at Tom with shy smile, silently expressing gratitude for his presence. Several days later, Jessica was discharged from the hospital. Though emotionally shaken, she expressed immense gratitude for the assistance received. Before departing, she turned to Tom with tearful eyes. "I don't know how to thank you. You saved our lives." Tom, characteristically humble, responded with warm smile. "I was merely in the right location at the right moment." Nate is the genuine hero. He demonstrated courage by requesting help. Nate, holding his now-repaired toy car, offered a timid smile. Tom had arranged the toy's repair, a small reminder that even damaged items could be restored following difficult periods. Inspired by this experience, Tom decided to contribute further. He contacted a local organization supporting domestic violence victims, offering financial assistance and visibility for their cause. He also maintained contact with Jessica and Nate, ensuring they received necessary support to rebuild their lives. Months later, Tom received invitation to a police-organized ceremony honoring Nate. The boy received the "Young Hero" title for his bravery in seeking help and saving his mother. During the event, Nate presented Tom with a drawing depicting a boy and man holding hands, with "My Hero" written in colorful letters. Tom smiled and said, "You are the genuine hero, Nate. Requesting help requires more courage than anything else." Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoy this video and learned a lesson. I would be grateful for your likes. Also don't forget to subscribe and comment on the video. See you soon.